Most people have no idea how much home they can actually afford. The bank won't tell you, and certainly the realtor won't tell you. They get paid the most money possible based on how much you buy. And in today's video, I'll be breaking down every single salary range to give you the best idea of what you can afford moving forward for your next home. But before I get into salary brackets, there is one thing that majority of first-time buyers never hear, and that'll determine whether your first home feels like freedom or a trap. Lenders will approve you up to 43% of your income. Now that sounds fine until you try to live on what's left. The number that you'll actually want to stay under is 28%. Now that number can be a bit tricky, but I'll get into further detail throughout the video. That'll be the ceiling that'll prevent you from being house poor. And although that number still might seem enticing, if you're up to that point where you're so leveraged where you can't even afford a vacation every year, there's an issue. And here's the thing that most buyers miss entirely. That 28% doesn't just cover your mortgage. It'll cover principal, interest, taxes, and maintenance on your home. Lenders refer to that as PITI. And all four of those numbers will come out to one specific number that you need to be at relative to that 28% rule. Now let me break this down specifically by salary, because the number will change depending on what you take home. Here is what surprises most people at every income level. The home you can afford is almost always less than what you expect. And I'm gonna show you exactly in today's video why that gap exists. We're at about $60,000 of annual income, $5,000 a month on gross take home. Now this is the range that most first-time buyers will start at, and this is really when you should start looking if you're interested in buying a home, because this does give you a little bit of money to stay flexible with. Now looking at our PITI max payment using the 28% rule, we're at about $1,400, with a home budget of anywhere between $200,000 to $250,000. Now this might seem a bit depressing at first, but of course there are a few other factors, right? Now obviously you live in California, this house doesn't exist. But if you live in Ohio, there are plenty of options that'll be in this budget range that aren't total fixer-uppers and absolute trash. With that being said though, obviously if you have more cash down, this could definitely help, but this is gonna be the max range for your amount financed for this range. Lenders in this range will typically show you houses all the way up to $300,000, but at that point, if you're getting a house making $60,000 a year, one unexpected repair can end all momentum at this income level. Now let's take a look at $80,000 a year. You get a $20,000 raise, fingers crossed that actually happens, and now you're looking for a bigger and better home. In this range, we're at about $1,900 a month. Now this starts to come in the more realistic ranges even from what I've seen from just doing research in my general area. Typically in this range, your home budget is anywhere from $270,000 to $320,000. Much more attainable. For me, I know in Arizona specifically, you're still not there quite yet, but depending on your down payment, it's certainly something that can be feasible once you're in around that $80,000 range. But in this range, you're still not making enough money where things such as car payments, student loans, or even credit cards can become a major nuisance if you're trying to budget a home of that price. Now let's take a look at $100,000 a year. Things do start to get a bit comfier, but obviously in places like California, it still could be a pipe dream. So at this point, we're looking at a max payment of around $2,300 to $2,400. The home budget is from anywhere near $330,000 to $400,000 in this range. Now, six figures does sound comfortable ultimately until you realize that people living in New York, California, or even like Seattle, for an example, this can still be a stretch to one, find homes at this price, and two, be able to swing the payment at $100,000 because everything else is also more expensive in these cities. Which I think raises the bigger question of, is it even worth it to buy in this economy relative to renting? Because in my personal opinion, rent versus buy, I think rent is coming out ahead just due to the insane prices along with the higher interest rates that we're seeing in this environment. Okay, so now to the fun part. Let's say you're taking home $150,000, or maybe you and your spouse are making $75,000 apiece. This is where the real cheat code happens. If you're a dual income family and you're taking home $150K plus, this is where things start to open up a bit. Okay, so in this range, we're looking at a home budget of anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000. There are plenty of options available in this range, but one thing to keep in mind, once you're in this range of home, things scale quickly. Taxes, insurance, and maintenance all rise in this range. Following the 1% maintenance rule for your home, 1% of your home per year, that means that you would need to budget $5,000 a year just to keep up with maintenance costs for that expensive home. So that would mean that you would budget around $400 per month in order to budget for things that could possibly happen. Now this segues into the hidden cost of home ownership. It's not all rainbows and butterflies whenever you're purchasing a house. Now once you're into the home, that's really the easiest part. And this is where the hidden costs come in. And this is where most budgets completely fall apart. This might sound unbelievable, but the down payment is not the hardest part. What comes after the down payment is what catches most people off guard. Closing costs, 2 to 5% of the purchase price of the home. On a starter home of $250,000, factoring closing costs, you're looking at an additional $5,000 to $12,000 at the day you close of your new home. On top of your down payment, the moment you sign, that money is gone. And here's the thing that changes the math more than anything else will. Property taxes. The same $300,000 a year house in Texas will cost you $6,000 a year, and just simply $1,500 in Alabama, for an example. Same house, same mortgage. That is the conversation that your realtor is certainly not having with you. So back to the question. If you're at $100,000 in a high cost of living city, is it really worth buying? Here's the honest answer. It'll depend on one specific number. How long are you planning to stay? If you're buying and selling under 5 years, in almost all cases, it makes more sense to rent. If you're planning to stay for 10 years or longer, it is in your best interest to buy a home. Buy as soon as the math works for you, because the long game on real estate almost always wins. So here's the full formula before you talk to a single realtor or a lender. Take your gross monthly income, multiply that by 28%. That is your maximum all-in monthly payment for your mortgage. Plug that into any mortgage calculator on Google, and it'll give you an estimated home price of what that payment would correlate to. Then make sure you have the down payment plus closing cost, and then an additional 3 to 6 months of emergency funds before you hop into home ownership. That buffer is the line that makes you feel amazing about home ownership, and the inverse is it feeling like a mistake that you can't get out of. Your realtor will show you homes at the top of your range, and the banks will approve you at that amount. Just know your number going in before anything catastrophic happens. If you found this interesting, feel free to click up here to see how much car payment you can afford in 2026. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.